Hey everybody, it's me, Edward Jones, back in a new video. This is basically me sharing, sharing my thoughts on what happened at the in Las Vegas a few days ago. Um, I wanted to wait until a little bit of time had passed by before I decided to, give my 2 cents on the situation. I don't like. I want to say this. This is not say anything about other people make videos, but I personally I like to see if I can get more information about what happened and during a situation like that. And what I don't like is when and this is really me. This is my criticism of people who are pro gun control. I get sick and tired of seeing all these conclusions jumped into, and that's the first thing they want to point out is that they want to, whether it be a legislator want to introduce a bill that bans assault weapons, whatever they mean by that, or all these people come out and talk about that this is why, this is a symptom of America having too many guns, having too many guns available in this nation, and I think that's just a lot of nonsense, and I can understand why people on the side, the people I would consider to be on the side of the those who are pro gun. I can understand why they would make a video when something like that happens, and I believe it's reactionary to a lot of the nonsense they know that's going to be a lot of nonsense information that's going to be put out there. But I personally, and I will speak on matters like that. I just want to, I always want to say I'd like to wait a few days before. I like to work a few days after something happened, after the occurrence happened. So do want to give a shout out to those who are doing a lot of fact checking, who are trying to clear up a lot of misconceptions about the things that go on during that kind of situations, because there's a lot of information going around. But from what I gathered, from what I gathered, there was a country music festival going on, and you had roughly I think it was like 22,000 people at this event. And this guy, he was 64 years old. Apparently he booked a room 10 months in advance at that hotel in Las Vegas. And they say that, there's a lot of numbers going around. I think it was like, they said there was a total of 48 weapons found at the hotel and in his home. But as far as where I can tell, what was seen at the hotel, there were only two. I only saw two ARs, and I heard he had a revolver that he shot himself with. And he used a slide fire stock. I think on two ARs that are mentioned, and that's because you listen to the video, you can hear how fast the rate of fire was. Now, when I first heard it, I thought it was, and this is something I was talking about a lot on Reddit, whether you use a gat crank, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know, but for those who aren't familiar, is where you have this hand crank that you would put in the trigger guard of an AR-15 rifle or a pattern rifle such as that, and it works like a Gatling gun. So basically, it's pulling the trigger each time. It's just doing it, it's just doing it very fast and very consistently. Or he could have been, a lot of people suggest he use a bump fire stock or slide fire stock or something like that, which was found to be the case. I was at Sonic earlier yesterday, and I saw there was a TV inside the one I went to, and I saw a picture of one of the ARs, and it had what looked to be like the 60 round magazines, and I remember it had a Daniel Defense stock on it. It was like basic configuration where if you were it was it was modded out, as a lot of people do with the AR-15 rifles, as I've done with my own AR-15 rifles. And I don't know of any other guns. I'm pretty sure I'll get more information out there about what he had. But yeah, I mean, obviously it was tragic. Now, something else was discussed, that there was I don't know the musician's name. He was a guitarist, but he was saying that he changed his mind on gun control. He said he noted that a couple of guys in his band they had their own concealed carry weapons, but they left them in the bus. And I was saying to myself, you know, and a lot of people were saying this as a way to discourage the act of people carrying in public, saying, oh, this, you know, because he was in the 32nd floor of a building, and he was roughly, they said, like 300 yards away from everybody, that a pistol would have done no good, which is why I'm actually wearing this hat, and I got this in front of me. This is a Remington Model 710. This is a 30-06 rifle. It's bolt action. Um, Pretty smooth action, I would say. It has a bipod and this little case in the back of carrying. I think it holds 10 rounds. This is I'm borrowing a buddy's rifle for this video, and it has a Bushnell scope. This rifle is pretty accurate. I've used it before. And I think the probably one bolt action rifle that I say I've taken out for the furthest distance for taken out for range shooting was a Ruger Model 77. That was also in 30-06, and I remember I was amazed I hit a bullseye at 100 yards. Now, I was talking to someone earlier, and I said that considering all the information from that situation, it's true. A handgun would be, you know, vastly ineffective for a situation like that. Now, by handgun, I don't, you know, I figure I shouldn't have to, you know, state this, but but many of us in the gun community know what a handgun is. But you know, rather just any firearm that fires a rifle fires a handgun cartridge. But a bolt action rifle, you know, for that distance, what I believe would suffice. Now, obviously there are people who would you know, scoff at the idea of anyone, you know, carrying a bolt action rifle around, which I mean, which I do understand. I understand. You know, it's you know, not for everyday use, obviously, but in that situation where you had someone, and now mind you, I'm not I've never been in the military, but I can say with some knowledge of firearms that if you had someone that far away, the only thing I think that would actually, you know, could change the odds would have been someone that had a rifle. If someone had a rifle, a good scope, I guess in the case of a good night scope, because this was at night when it was going on. Or if we had someone who worked, and also a friend who worked as a spotter. That's the only thing I can see that would have been effective at halting something like that in its tracks. You know, you'd have to have people looking around to figure out where the fire is coming, you know, where the rounds are coming from, and then if you have, once you got that established, then you know, figure out how far away they are, how far up, what are the wind conditions, things like that, and you know, figure out whether it be an appropriate time to actually, you know, do return fire. In this scenario, it actually seemed like a battle scenario, and I say battle scenario because, I mean, 300 yards. Those are like battle rifle distance, and you wouldn't use a handgun for battle rifle distance. You would use a battle rifle for that kind of work. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because I always like to find out if there is a way to combat, you know, an attack like that. Is there any way that something can be, someone could respond to that? And that's one thing I can think of, until you can get some guys to come up the stairs and confront the man out, you know, when he wasn't in the hotel room. That's at least the first thing I can think of. If you had someone who was able to return fire accurately, after figuring out where the guy was, where the attacker was, then that could potentially buy a lot of people time to evacuate. It also at least halt the gunfire for some time to which could potentially save some more, save more lives or prevent more people from getting injured. I predict. I predict that I think sales are going to go up again. I predict AR-15 sales, AK-47 sales, HK sales. I think already any sale, any rifle of that of that type, they're going to start selling like crazy. The same thing that happened at the Sandy Hook. Just so it happens, this was a pretty big thing. I mean, you had over 500 people wounded. I think it was not just solely from gunfire, but I believe a lot of people who were, who had fallen or got cuts and scrapes, stuff like that. There were some good stories. I read on Reddit. There was a Marine who broke into someone's truck to transport people to the hospital. They transported like 30 people to the hospital from the place that was attacked. There were some people they were reunited with their loved ones, reunited with people who had rescued them. I have friends. I know a few people who are out in Vegas. Doug Bates being one of them. He lives in Vegas, and I was happy to see that he's doing okay, as well as some of the people I went to school with. They're okay. I want to say I want to say that I wish I hope for the best for those who are hurt and those who have lost loved ones in that in that attack. And it was a pretty crazy thing. And I tend to brush off a lot of the when I hear a lot of these things happening. Another reason why I wait a couple of days before I do a video, before I speak on it, is because it's the same old thing. I'd be surprised if, like I said, I'll always be surprised if someone fought back, which is something I like to see. I like to see someone fight back in any way possible, whether with a pistol, with a bolt-action rifle, with their fist, anything. I love hearing stories about people fighting back against evildoers. So, these are my thoughts. Tell me what you think. Do you think something like this could have been responded to in a way that could have actually slowed down the attack to where more people could be helped? You think it would add more gasoline to the fire? Please like to hear your thoughts. It's your first time checking out my channel. I encourage you to check out my other videos and look forward to new videos to come. If you want to support the channel, look at my homepage on YouTube for the give up that cheese button. You can make a donation to my PayPal account. Any gripes, complaints, send me a PM. I'll see what I can do to address them. But these are just my thoughts on the matter on the attack that happened in Las Vegas. I'm Edward Jones, and you guys take care.